I would argue that in addition to one's own body and thoughts, the only thing each of us truly possess on this planet is time. Most of us accept that our lives are finite, temporary, and fairly fragile. Even those among us who believe in an eternal afterlife of paradise still tend to have a firm grasp on the importance of preserving our time in this mortal existence. Our use of that time within our individual limitations is one of the few freedoms most of us get to enjoy. We can decide for ourselves if we want to spend our time working or lounging unemployed, if we want to spend it responsibly or irresponsibly, if we want to spend our time developing our bodies, developing our brains, or developing not much at all. The planet we happen to occupy is so large and its span of life forms so vast, especially if we account for the territory beneath the ocean's surfaces, that it's currently impossible to experience everything Earth has to offer in a full lifetime, or even in several. An understanding of this precious value that we attach to our time here is integral to considering the values of our behavior and what activities humans are willing to invest their time into occupying. I take the position that after we die, the actions of our lives will completely cease to have any bearing or effect on us and only affect those still alive. Even those who share that position are usually considerate of how to best spend that time for the interest of the quality of each life during its remainder. Our differing values assigned to potential time investments lead to confusion among one another in terms of how we use the time we have. For example, I keep a distant eye on the world of politics, only zooming in when something really catches my interest or seems particularly relevant to me. That relationship with political events is more than what some people have and far less than what other people have. If I was to spend my leisure time watching C-SPAN and reading articles on every bill, tax, or act that Congress proposes, as some people do, I would certainly be more personally enriched in my knowledge of current events than what I am without doing so. It would grant me a more accurate understanding of my surrounding world and empower me, to some degree, to have a stronger voice in changing those events than I do now while I'm ignorant to most of those that don't fit my immediate interests. However, because political study is generally uninteresting, trite, frustrating, and often futile for me, through my own perceptions, I would rather spend my time doing something far less apt to be labeled as intellectual growth, even if it's watching movies or playing video games. If I spend the majority of my leisure time investigating that which improves me, but I don't enjoy, I would have to die with a brain full of information I took very little joy in achieving, which would translate to personal failure in my opinion. This concept appears to expand across the current American culture and may be in large part responsible for the general apathy the USA populace demonstrates for that which is outside of their small circle of direct interactions. People experience a sense of futility to change any of the significant problems around them, so they'd rather spend their limited time in an ignorant but blissful state. In this culture with short attention spans and a long list of cell phone apps to entertain us, where's the incentive to invest time that it takes to fill your head with information and cynicism by proxy when you don't think you can do anything with it, don't plan to do anything with it, and you know every tick of the clock brings you one step farther from your Xbox and one step closer to your grave where neither one is going to matter? It boils down to those personal priorities. The purpose of this video isn't to condemn or condone the position of activism or that of apathy, but rather to explore why either one exists as it does, and hopefully bring some light to both sides. The apathist, which is a word I just made up, may not understand why individuals who seemingly have no power to make a significant change and seemingly only make themselves miserable and jaded in the process bother to get wrist-deep into issues like politics, environmentalism, religion, education, and so forth. They may not get the worth for people to lower their shoulders and tackle those brick walls when they could sit back, accept their overall insignificance, and go with the flow. On a personal level, it's a decent philosophy, and even falls in line with living life to its fullest for some. What the activists may not understand is how people can settle into the ignorance is bliss mentality. Not even ignorance in the sense of not knowing, but ignorance in the sense of ignoring the observable and very present problems which people are aware of. How can they sit back and let the active minority try to do all the legwork for progress while they could be contributing? How can they let the big issues that directly and indirectly affect them and their descendants settle as non-issues somewhere in the back of their brains? The two positions don't understand each other because they operate from completely opposite schools of thought, both of which make plenty of sense from a particular point of view, and both of which are held by both sides on some issues, because we can't be completely active or completely apathetic on every single issue on the planet. The important thing to consider when you're selecting your place somewhere on that spectrum between activism and apathy on any given issue is that the clock is ticking.